So I was going through the YouTube comments and on Robot Cameras Day 2, and one of the things that was coming up was the use of this light box. Todd and I were using it to just plug in to see if we could find out if, which one's talking, which one's blinking. And a couple people were asking, what is this thing? So I thought we'd take a quick little demo of like serial in this box and whatnot. And really, the camera, or sorry, this little box isn't anything super fantastic. It's just a little LED array of LEDs, and you can see that there's one for transmit and receive and clear to send or clear to send and request to send, and I can't remember what DSR and DTR are. I think they're other control lines, and then CD is carrier detect. Just a couple simple LEDs, and basically what this guy does is every time there's a pulse on one of those lines, the LED lights up. And in some cases they may be bicolor, and I've got a carrier and then I've got a flash for another thing. Or to show a different state. It's relatively a simple box. I think I may have gotten this one at Radio Shack a long time ago when Radio Shack actually carried things that you could actually use to build things. I pretty much carry this with me everywhere because you never know when you're going to need to figure out where what port is working, what port isn't working. It's pretty much indispensable in that case. But I also carry other stuff with me, especially when I know I'm going somewhere where somebody's going to go, hey, I need you to hook this thing to that thing. And maybe I'll just quick go through some of the stuff that I carry with me. Got the light box. I also carry one of these wonderful things, which is a DB25 female to DB9 male adapter. Extremely useful. I mean, if you can see, or you can tell that this one's a DB25, and then now it's a DB9, and I can go to a different cable type. These are extremely useful, except they can also be a little confusing. Sometimes they're null modems. Sometimes they're not. They are seldom marked anymore. So if you buy new ones, you gotta sometimes ring them out, and I don't actually know, and typically I would mark on these, null or not, but I must have just pulled this out of a bag. But of course there's also other versions of that, where now you've got this one, which is actually DB25 male to DB9 male. So the exact, DB25 gender flip of this guy. So, and it kind of can go on and on like this, unfortunately. That's why you end up with things like gender benders, which, will help you connect males to, or females to females. It's really a collection. As well as I always carry cables with me. This is a null modem DB9. This is a straight through DB9 female to DB25 male. I probably have another one of those just because you never know. And then I have just a straight through DB9 to DB9, so you got a male to female end on those. As well as that's another straight, probably. That they seldom mark them. That's why you end up with ones like this, which this is a DB9 female to female, and I've actually marked it with ends on them because you never know. That's really half the problem sometimes. You can sometimes be like, yeah, I got it. No problem. So, no biggie, as the air turns on and destroys the rest of the shot. So, I'm going to turn that off and I'll be right back. Oh, I have all these cables with me, as well as I also carry with me something like this. This looks like a hunk probably from this distance, but it's a DB25 null modem, and actually this one has embossed right on it null modem, which is really nice. DB25 male to female. And basically what this device does is it flips the transmission and receive lines. So if you've got a cable and you don't really know what's working, you can throw one of these in the mix and also flip it and maybe it'll come to life. Maybe it won't. Well, I carry him, and I also carry this little tiny one, which this one's also marked with no modem on it, and it's a DB9 version of that same thing. So I don't have to cut cables up and try and grab a bunch of adapters. So I got a bunch of those with me. And then just to throw a whole wrench in it, I've got this guy, which is a DB9 female to RJ45 end. So this guy actually plugs in, you can plug in a network cable to, which is useful, and actually this one opens up and you can reconfigure it and do all those kinds of things. But it's really extremely useful because nowadays serial is starting to show up more in kind of a telephone or network kind of capacity, and it can cause some kind of problems. But I have a bunch of these both in female and male, and I don't necessarily take these so much with me because it's not necessarily as important. So I carry those components with me most of the time. But then the big one that I always carry with me is this guy. This is my Inside Out Edgeport 22C. I carry this with me almost all the time because this is my connection to the PC. So it's got a dual port, it's a dual DB9 end with a wonderful little USB hub for whoever's asking for that. And then it also, and so it plugs in USB. If you watched on the road when we were playing around, it just plugs in. It's got a great set of drivers. I really like Digi, and I really like Inside Out Networks. They've got a problem with USB 3, or they may have had a problem where you'd plug this guy in and then send some data down, and it would blue screen the whole thing. So good, and I think they've already fixed that problem. But the fact is, I love these guys. They're incredibly reliable. When there's a problem communicating with something, it's seldom this box, and that's really why I love it so much and why I take it everywhere and use it for everything. Because when you're communicating, when you're trying to build, when you're trying to figure out what's going on, you want to be able to rely that your connection actually works, and it could be a cable or power or whatever down the line. So, and why do I carry all of this crap around? I mean, I don't carry all of it, mainly the cable portions, because that can add up real quick. But why do I carry it? Because Serial's dead and nobody really uses it anymore. This is brand new. This is like maybe 3 or 4 months old, and you could see on the road this is a little, excuse me, it's a little Radio Shack catalog number 22812, if anyone cares. But basically a very simple little Radio Shack part. Brand new, and what does it have right on top of it? It's got a little serial port. So a little serial port hiding away here on the top, and it's brand new. So with this collection of stuff, I can start talking to it. And even though it might be a brand, just keep in mind, even though it might be a brand new device and it's communicating and whatnot, and it looks, plugs in USB and everything, doesn't necessarily mean it's not a serial cable. This is one of the things, I also have several of these. This is from FTDI. These guys make, let's see, does that have a number? Yep. So an FTDI, come on, focus. FTDI TTL 232R, come on. Focus, focus, focus. FTDI TTL 232R 3v3. This is essentially a USB cable that has a little bit of works in it that turns it into actually a TTL cable, which I could, which you can pretty much plug in Arduinos and some other, it basically is the first, the next step in creating. They also, I think, make a 232 version. They might not, but the fact is, this is essentially, when you plug it into a computer, it becomes a COM port. So even though serial ports are old and they're going away, FTDI wouldn't make these chips en masse, and they wouldn't make this cable if there wasn't a demand for it. So I'm going to put something together to show some blinking, flashing lights while I send some data. I'll be right back. So after a little bit of a break, we got everything hooked up. Now what we got hooked up is the USB to RS-232 converter, and then through that we've got one DB9 female to one DB25 male connector. Got our little light box in the center, and then to kind of mix things up, because I forgot a part, we've got the DB25 to 9 converter, and then a null cable hooked into the other side. So we've nulled the connection. Now, nulling a connection, it's simple. You're essentially connecting the transmission line to the receive line, and vice versa for the other way. It's quite simple, and it actually, and typically in a DB9 case, it actually is just pin 2 and pin 3 are flipped. So you're connecting 2 to 3 and 3 to 2. Ground's always the same. If you really want to look up what the pinout of these things are, I can tell you or I could probably memorize it and then regurgitate it, or you can just look it up online. If you Google serial or RS-232 pinout, there are wonderful resources to tell you what absolutely every single pin does. I don't care enough to really remember more than just pin 2 and pin 3 and pin 5 on a DB9, because that's pretty much all I really need to remember. Anyways, so the system's hooked up, and we got on my laptop I've got two windows, one real term and two real term. This one here on the top is COM8, which is our port on the right here, and COM7, port left. Now, what happens when so our LED block right now doesn't show anything on it. I mean, it's not lit. Well, that tells us there's no connection at all. Absolutely zero connection. So we're going to come over here, and you may or may not be able to see this, but I'm going to click the open button, which will connect, or which will open port 8. Now we come back over to our LED box, and you can see that now we've got, let's see if we get in here close and if it'll focus. So we've got transmit and receive. Really, those are the two we give a crap about in this kind of thing. So let's come back over to our other window, and let's open up, focus, we'll open up the other COM port. So now, and that's one of the things I like about Realterm as well. It has these little dialogues that let you kind of know that it's already getting the CTS and DTRs and all that stuff is connected. So we come back over, and everybody's happy. Everybody's happy, nothing's happening. So what we're going to do is in one of these windows, I'll click, and we're going to send some data. And either it's happening so fast that we can't see it with this camera. Yeah, it's happening so fast I can't see it with the camera. So I'm going to slow the baud rate down and see what happens. So let's close our ports. We're going to take it to 1200 baud. We'll reopen that. Close this guy. Reset him to 1200 baud. Reopen. Let's see. Can we see anything? Nope. Why can't we see anything? What the heck is going on? The best laid plans of mice and men. But, so I can't see anything that's actually happening, which is really odd. Hardware flow control off. Well, let's play around with it a bit. Let's turn hardware flow control on. So we'll come in here and we'll turn RTS and CTS on. Okay, let's open this back up. Oh, I've got a different looking. So it's kind of interesting. When I close one of the ports, you can see that it changes because it's not getting the feedback that it needs. So let's send some data. Nothing happening. What in the heck is going on? Send data the other way. Now I'm upset. So my light box isn't exactly working as wonderful as it should, because these little lights here should be going, but we can tell that, you know, if I close the COM ports, we can tell that some stuff happens. That, so as much as this is a terrible demo, I think, of the night, you know, now both ports are closed, I guess as well as I can tell that this is a terrible demo of this piece, you can tell that something's happening. And that's kind of really what the whole box is about. It's not about telling you that you're getting the right data or anything's important like that. It's just telling you there's something there and that it's happening on these pins. And one connected one way, it'll light up this way. Connected another, it'll tell you. And in the case of the robots, when we were playing with them, data that was coming out was flickering. However, that was RS-422. It's different, but the box will work just as well. As long as there's a signal coming across that pin, it'll pulse that LED, and that's how we could tell something was happening. And that's what I pretty much use that box for. That's it.